Would you like to have a little test this morning?
Sure.
Just to
No.
hope.
I just learned that.
It's a fill in the blank test. I want blank from the world. What comes to your mind?
Not,
I'll write things down here as possibilities. What else? Just anything, just whatever comes to your mind.
know what the course says.
Well, we'll say that too. What?
Healing. Of
Peace.
God's Son's mind. And I'm one part of God's Son.
Peace. I heard peace. Now, you're not really reading my question.
About wealth and recognition.
Go ahead. Yes,
Wealth and recognition.
he read the question.
He read the book first.
Matt,
I want nothing from this world.
he read the question.
This world is not real.
We cannot get those things.
That's right.
It's
That's
not the
exactly.
world. Right.
She got the question. These are all great things, don't
Yeah.
mistake me.
But you can't get them.
They just don't happen to come from the world.
Very good, Bob.
Well, what about the healing of God's Son? What the world is for?
I think that would fit. Except it's not really from, the healing is not, it's in the it's not really
word
from the world.
Is the word from the major thing? Okay.
Yeah,
It's
the
for
healing
that,
of
but it's not from
it,
that.
it, but it's in the context of the world, so it's not like the world is irrelevant. You need a context, and relationships are in the world, and you need all of that, and so but these are great here, and in all truth, if we think back on our lives at different times, we could and imagine that we would ask ourselves, what do I want from the world, and how to fill in that blank. You would be filling it in, not with nothing, and not, wealth could be a possibility, recognition could be a possibility, success could be a possibility, a family could be a possibility, a job, my rent.
Yeah.
You know,
Yada, yada, yada.
yeah, there would be lots, and at different times in your life, it would be different words.
Yeah.
So anybody want to throw in one of those, some word we hadn't thought of here that would really, that you feel really would fit here?
Somebody did a survey asking people in each state, what are you the most grateful for?
Yeah.
So I looked at Tennessee, I was curious, some of them had rain and different things, it was God's love. I was
Hey, that's
impressed.
great.
I was
Yes.
amazed.
Yeah.
That
That's
many
great.
people, the majority of them.
Yay, Tennessee.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I never wanted that. I knew I had no chance there.
You could still want it.
Well, I didn't even want it. Recognition. Yes, I wanted recognition. Did I get it? No, thank God. If I'd got a lot of recognition, I'd have never quit my job. It would have been just too strong a interchange going there.
Yeah.
But so I'm glad I didn't get it. I did get to the place where I thought I was doing it well, but it just didn't happen to bring recognition. That's really all I wanted, was to feel competent. And I wasn't sure at first that I could do that, because a theoretical physicist is supposed to solve problems that have never been solved before. Guess why they haven't been solved before? They're not easy. So I'm kind of glad I didn't get the recognition wealth. I never wanted it. this is what I want. This is my goal now. Let's put it that way. I may not say I do it all the time, but basically I would like to say I want nothing from the world. At the gut level, that's not exactly correct. Like sometimes I don't want rain. It's got too much water, or sometimes I do want rain from the world. It's not from my yard, let's say.
Food.
Yeah, basic necessities. Right, I definitely want basic necessities. And so what that means that what we need to do is to change our thinking about it coming from the world and thinking that that also comes from God in some way, in some sense or other. Well, there are many different ways food grows in planet Earth, from planet Earth. I understand that. But Holy Spirit can direct you to where it's growing. Whereas without the Holy Spirit, you might be looking in the wrong field, looking for those few berries or blackberries or whatever you're looking for, and not find it. And God Spirit can say, well, look there. Oh, there's some berries. So in spite of the fact that organic material comes up out of the earth, we all know that, at least under the right conditions, still you've got to be able to find it and pick it and all of that. Okay, now there are two other things there. Oh, wow. There are a couple of things that are wrong with the whole sentence. And I'm going to start with the main one. Let us talk about our free will. And then I'll get back to that. The Course says we all have free will, and we all think we have free will. It's our right as a human being, if you like, to have free will. When anyone starts to take it away from you, you get upset. I remember reading something about the Civil War where some soldier from the South had been captured by some soldiers from the North, and the Northern soldiers would say, "Sir, I said, sir, however they addressed him, what are you fighting for anyhow?" He says, "My rats." People said, "You don't fight for rats." "My rats." He meant rights. That's just the way he pronounced it. Well, that's free will. He felt his rights, rats or whatever, were threatened by this alien army here from the North. Well, I guess he was right. They were being threatened.
He was rat.
He was right. Indeed. So I think it's and we value democracy because it allows us to express our free will, isn't that right? Whereas in a dictatorship, you might be afraid to express it. I'm told that ever since Putin came to power, I know that people can oppose Putin in Russia. They actually have a false sort of a facade of democracy. It's not really a democracy. If you oppose him, well, there could be problems. And that 34 opposition people have died, mainly from falling out of very high windows of very tall buildings. If you oppose him, you get this thing that pulls you toward the window and you'll fall out. Now, if you flee the country, you get poisoned by weapon grade plutonium, but guess where that comes from? It's no accident that Putin uses weapon grade plutonium. He wants you to know where it comes from, so you'll know full well that that fleeing is not going to be any better than staying there. Well, people in Russia may not have a strong sense of free will. I don't know any Russian. What would Irina say about that? Do you have any idea? That was the only Russian person. She was sort of Russian.
It seemed like it was more economic problems than feeling like you're, being persecuted or whatever.
Well, if you have economic problems, they usually do take your attention away from freedom of expression. I'd rather have a potato than a voting box or something if I don't have any potatoes. So, okay, let's talk about free will. We all value free will, and wars are fought over it. I was sort of thinking the Civil War seemed to be fought over that. It could be related to that, because I still want my free will to do it my way. And this other country or other part of the country saying, no, I don't want you doing it that way. And so, people get killed over it. Gobs of people died in the Civil War, more so than any other. Free will, you say, well, what does will mean? Want and will mean pretty much the same thing. We don't use the word will a whole lot, except if we're going to write one before we die. That's your last will and testament. But if you want to know what your free will is, just say, well, what is it you want? Then well, that's my will for today. I want this or I want that. That's my will. I'm free to have that. Do you know what makes it possible? What makes free will possible? From the viewpoint of the course. Just think about that for a moment. I don't think this is a common, I don't know, probably not a common view. Free will. You can feel free to disagree with this. I'm writing this as strongly, as bluntly as I can possibly imagine. And I'm saying that free will basically means you want to be separate from God. What? Is that true? I don't mind if it's not true. It just happens to be in my mind at the time. So if you think, well, that's not so, feel free. And you say, well, what is my basis for saying that? Does God want to enslave my will? If so, I'm not sure I'm interested. Well, God doesn't want to enslave anything. What the Course says is it says in a very indirect way, so you could miss this pretty easily. So let me tell you what it says. It says freedom has two possible expressions. One, you are free. God created us free from all illusion. Illusion is untruth, and therefore free to create other beings with him. Now, if you still got half your mind's invested with illusion, I don't want you creating a being. No telling what kind of monstrosity you might produce. Well, I had an illusion. Why'd you put 4 heads on it for? Well, I don't know. I just did. And one head's trying to eat the other. Hey, this doesn't sound good. So if your mind's messed up here and you're drunk, you don't drive, right? Our country, I think, is doing pretty good on that. If you're inebriated, ask somebody else to drive. You have to be free from all illusions, and then you're free to create. And you do that with God, if you like, or at any rate, that's why he creates as well. Or you can be free instead to choose. So the choice here is choose or create. In other words, and if you choose, in order to make choices, you have to not know everything. If you know everything in the world that there is to know, you're not going to be at a crossroads determining, should I go this way? Should I go that way? You know exactly where this road takes you. You know exactly where this other road takes you. You know exactly how much you like it, how much you don't. What's to choose? You're going to pick one of the worst possibilities? No, you're going to immediately pick the one that's best for you. There's no choice there. If you're standing on a cliff and one path leads to the edge of it and the other one leads you back home, there's no choice. I don't want to go that way. I want to go this way. Well, if you know everything, then everything's like that. You know clearly what you want. So that in heaven, you're not choosing. You're creating instead. This is your freedom. But when we come here, what we say is, I want my mind. Let's say this is a head. We got ears, got eyes, and the whole thing. And I want my mind blocked off so that and I'll put a ring around it so it blocked off.
Put some hair on that.
He wanted hair.
What'd you say?
And so if you block it off so that God can't get into your mind, you will be free to choose. If you remove the ring and throw it away so that God can be there all the time, well, you've lost your freedom to choose. And we being here, we want the freedom to choose. So the problem with this sentence here is the word want. It's the word want. That's a problem. At least if it's from the world. Because being free to create has nothing to do with the world. We can't create in the world. This is the world that we have wanted to be in, and so we're here. And so you say, well, am I supposed to feel bad because I've pushed God away and now I'm free to choose? No. That's the wrong starting place to start. In fact, the starting place is just the opposite. You're supposed to feel good based on acceptance. In other words, accept the fact that right now we choose. You're not, none of us are being prompted to start trying to create. Healing is what we're about. You see, the healing of the mind that you move from here back to here. This is healing. Healing goes that way. There's healing. So the first step of healing is choose. Yes, feel free to choose any old way you want. And accept yourself for having chosen it. Sell drugs on the corner if you really think that's heaven on earth. Give it a shot. Try it out. Enjoy jail. Or worse, now hopefully that sounds like a hard lesson. So hopefully we have not had to have too many of those hard type lessons. None of us, I think I can say for all of us, none of us want hard lessons, but no matter where we are and what's a hard lesson for one might not be a hard lesson for another, but it doesn't matter what the level of lesson you're at. But what does matter, if you are selling drugs on the street corner, my message to that person is accept yourself as you are right now. You sell drugs. Accept yourself. Stop judging yourself for doing it. See? And don't sell to my kids. If you want, intrude that in. But that's a want. So, So the very act of wanting, I want this, I want that. And what the Course says, you don't know what you really want. Because the will that you act, this free will, the Course says this is not your true will. It is a false will. It's called the ego. The ego is your false will. The ego tells you you want this. The ego tells you you want that. And the Holy Spirit says, okay, now the way we're going to deal with this, we're not going to attack the ego. Let him tell you want this. If you want that, and then you're free to try it out if you want to. And if you do, it's okay. No one's going to judge you except you for trying out this ego solution or that ego solution. It's okay. We come here to check it out, if you want to think of it that way. God, I don't want you in my mind right now. I'm going into another place. You're going to have problems. That's okay. Well, we're here. So try it out. What is it? What do you want from the world? If you still want, I like these answers, that answer, of course, but that may not be where you are. It doesn't make any difference where you are. You are in a perfect place for you. We're not supposed to be, I'm not supposed to be in Pat's perfect place or Bruno's perfect place or Milford's or anybody else's. That's yours. You start where you are. I don't want to try to start where you are. I don't want you to try to start where I am. That's not the point. If we're on a ladder and you're 3 rungs up there and I'm on a ladder, I'm not going to try to jump onto your 3 rungs there. That's kind of dangerous to jump from one ladder to the other. In fact, I would call that extremely dangerous. In fact, I would say you're not thinking right at all, except the rung you're standing on. You know, that's a really important point about climbing a ladder. You want to keep your center of gravity close to the ladder. You don't want it sticking way out here someplace. You fall off. You want to keep your center of gravity right there next to that ladder, which is sloping to some extent or other, of course, as you climb up and you go from one rung to the other. I've never seen a guy climb a ladder who tried to jump from one to the other unless he was in a circus. Then you can train your body to do all kinds of things. But that's not how you climb. We all know that. Or is there somebody who does that? No. I'm sure no one be all up there. Yeah, I do that. I saw it reminds me of a funny cartoon I saw one time, and it said, why men, like instead of women, I think, get hurt themselves. And it had this picture of a car. There's a house behind it. And then it had, how was that? And then it had a chair. Yes, it had a chair. On top of that, there was a ladder. And go up so this man could climb up that ladder and do whatever work he wanted to do up there. Why they get hurt? Well, how can you not get hurt with that setup? You know? So anyway, I've always found that amusing. But the point is to accept yourself on whatever rung of the ladder you're on. You're not supposed to be at some other ladder rung right now. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. We're in a process here. You see, you don't want to be denying the process. So the first part is to accept yourself completely. It is perfectly all right for you to be making a blank of yourself if that's what you're doing. Or whether that be a good thing or bad, it doesn't matter. Just want to learn from it. The point, of course, is the healing. Whatever it is you do, you learn what needs to be healed. Maybe nothing needs to be healed. Maybe you accept yourself and realize that I've learned the lessons of this ladder rung, and I can just step up to another one. This ladder is really a ladder of consciousness. You're raising your consciousness. That's the kind of ladder that we're talking about. And so the only thing that we really need from the world is the healing. But it's okay to want other things from the world, but just until you recognize that they don't mean anything to you. Then you set them aside. Then you decide, is there something else in the world I want to try out? So you do, you know. And this process continues until finally you say, I just don't think there's anything here I particularly want. I mean, sustenance, yes. Yes, sure. I want my basic needs, yes. If I'm going to be in a body, I want the basic needs satisfied. If you don't want to satisfy my basic needs, just get me out of this body, which would normally follow anyway. But you are moving towards, I'm not saying you're at, I'm saying you're moving towards, away from free will and, where was that? Into God's will. And the Course makes a point to say that when you ask the Holy Spirit to bring you God's will, He will bring you yours because they're actually the same. That's why I would say this will is a false will. It doesn't tell you truly. I don't tend to watch this program, but it just happened to get my attention as I surf the internet, not the internet, the TV, knowing I only want to be there a few minutes anyway, so that works because you never find anything you want to watch. So it works perfectly, but I don't want to go back to work yet. See, so I want to sit there and do this mindlessly. And I came across a Bachelor. There's a program called Bachelor. There's a Bachelorette, or no, is that right? Or Bachelor? Anyway, there's this guy that puts himself out there. Bring me the pretty women, and I'll choose one. Or or beautiful women, or healthy women, at least healthy, whatever. At least in my age bracket, So anyway, I happened to watch it. He's a real handsome man, and he'd fallen in love with two beautiful women. They're just gorgeous women, and he was so concerned about it. What am I going to do? I love both of them. He's got to choose, and if you choose, I don't know, you get good things. I don't know. Anyway, something happens. It's good.
Good health.
Yeah. One of the ladies was a Dallas cheerleader. The other one, I don't know what she was. Forgotten now. But at any rate, they were both beautiful, articulate,
You know what attracted me? You know how I landed my woman?
white shorts.
She was wearing tight white shorts.
I knew that.
And I was getting a haircut at the barber shop. And,
You were the bachelor and she was the bachelorette. Is that the right word?
We've seen picture of those white shorts.
yes.
Well, so anyway, he said he picked one. He says, I'm just falling in love with you. I'm picking you. We call her Jane. And so then, and he told the other, I'm so sorry. I do love you, but I've got another one. I love her more. He's crying some of the time here. Really? He's weeping, because he had to he couldn't get both. He couldn't have both, that wouldn't work. So he went off with the one and then he discovered as he was with her and he was still in love with the other one. And so after 3 months, they come bring back on this show and he says to the first one, I can't stay with you anymore. I can't keep my mind thinking of this first one. Well, the second one, his second choice, which he didn't choose. Well, this first choice was just devastated. And very angry. I might add. Like, you don't want to stay and work this out with us. You're just going to adopt me and leave for this. And you've been thinking about her all the time anyway. I'm so crying, more crying.
The man or the woman?
The man, no, the man. The woman's mad. The man's crying. He's so sad here. He's having such a hard. He says, I have to go with how I feel. And right now I feel sad. I'm crying, so bye. I can't be with you. So they actually call the second choice back. And he explains to her, he says, will you give me a chance? I've decided it really was you. It was you all the time. Well, anyway, and this second woman was kind of cute in a way. You could see her looking at this like, how do I want to feel here? Do I want to be mad? Do I want to be glad? This is a really unusual situation, And finally she says, I'm going for it. She says, she had a big smile. Yes, I'm here. Go for it. And they left and they got married and had children. Whatever. I don't know whether he was still crying or not. That I don't know. I don't know why did I even get onto this story. I kind of forgot. Must have been a reason. Well, it's one. I guess. I've forgotten the reason, but I'll make up one. Okay. He's here using his free will, trying to just. Oh, I remember now. It's because we don't know what we want. That's why. That was the original thought. No matter how well it's packaged, we don't know what we want. Finally, I guess he got to it, but as to what he really wanted. But we do have within us a true will. Now, that second choice that man made, maybe that was his true will. I'm not going to say, I don't know. But we all have within us a false will that we want to get rid of. The false will speaks from the voice of the ego. And so what you have to say is, instead of being that false will, you say, I am the holy light of the world. Holy puts you with God immediately. The trees out there, God is, if you say holy, you mean God. You are with God. And so you're saying, I want God's will. God's will is our salvation. That's what it is. It's not anything, there is no other salvation. It is our eternity. It's the only thing that will make us truly, truly happy. I think the Course says the Son of God cannot really be content until he is with the Father. That is your happiness. Anything that points in any other direction is a false will. But you can't accept that on the basis of what I say. You have to learn that in life. I mean, it's just the way we learn, you know. Just because Bruno says, Bob, you don't want to be a rock star, doesn't mean I don't. But he is right, I don't. But I have to learn that. One, I can't sing, I can't dance, I don't want money. Why would I be a rock star? And I've never wanted to be a rock star. But that's good for me and for everybody else. So God's will is the answer. And you say, well, I don't know what God's will is. Wrong, 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 right? We all know what God's will is if you're a course student. Perfect happiness now. Unfortunately, that is so broad that it doesn't actually answer a specific question about what do I need to do tomorrow, you know. But I would suggest ask for contact with God. The deepest energy within you is holy. The deepest energy is going to take you to the best places, you might say, where you will indeed be the light of the world. And it's that and only that that will ultimately satisfy.
But in order for me to sometimes get out of my own way, I have to use the term, when I'm driving to a situation, there's somebody needing to get something done. And my thing to God is, you know I'm not good at this. Would you handle it? That's my way of telling me to get out of the way and listen for him.
Well, that sounds like that ought to work.
Yeah. You know, it's just sort of a mantra that I do. And it does bring me peace because I know it's okay.
I have something to add to that.
Okay.
Even if I'm good at that,
you might want
to do it anyway.
He's better.
Yeah, then maybe I need it more.
Maybe that's what I want to say. Okay, you're in charge today, God. Let's move on up there.
I ask for a miracle almost every day. I want a miracle for the whole day. I want to cover the whole day. Why not? You have something against miracles? You know, well, no, we don't have anything against them. And that was a wonderful story. I was thinking to myself, I wonder if that's true. Well, it's a great story, even if it's not true.
It's not true.
If it is true, it's an amazing story. And it could have been true.
It certainly could. There is a ring.
There's a ring of truth to it because
she desperately wanted help for her brother. She had that desire.
who's going to make that story up?
That's right.
I mean, it's going a little bit. You're a great writer if you made that one up.
We just love that.
It sounds like it was truth, and it could very well have been true, except for the fact that the man in the store, I thought he was a store owner, and he ain't going to be a surgeon.
No, he was
a
visiting
brother.
his
He was a
brother.
brother.
Oh, I missed that part.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the
So
only.
that made sense.
That makes
And he
that makes it even better.
Right time,
Yeah.
you know, a miracle.
Right. She had waited one day longer to come there. He may have already been gone.
Right.
Jesus can arrange time and place. Remember that?
Exactly.
Space and time are under my control. That's what Jesus says in the course. So if you need to be there at the right time, you'll be there at the right time. See? You don't have to worry about that. There are no accidents. It will simply work out. But the question is how rocky the road will be. And the more you go with this, the rockier it will be. The more you ask for a miracle and let God do it for you. You see, that's the real problem. We don't want God to do it for
We
us.
want what we want.
That's the problem. That's why we're here. Accept it, enjoy it until the rocks get too big, and then try another process, you know. But that's the whole thing. That's so simple. It's just, God is like saying, if you'll just let me, no, I will do it my way, you know. Okay, fine. You know, remember that quote that we all probably love so much in the course. Jesus said something like, I can teach you to be like me because we really are alike if you want. If you don't want, I will wait until you change your mind. And I thought for sure he was going to say, if you don't want, you're going straight to hell, you little idiot, or something like that. But, you know, he didn't. He just says, I'll just wait until you change your mind. Eventually, we all will change our minds.
Thank you. Bob.
Thank you, Bob.